Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a deep dive into one of global football's absolute most efficient institutions. We're going to unpack the anatomy of a true champion, the German national team. Our goal here? To decode exactly how this powerhouse was built, how it sustained its sheer dominance over the decades, and how it's continuing to evolve right now in the modern era. Let's get right into it.
So, to break down this footballing machine, we'll be looking at 5 key areas. First up, identity and history. Then we'll look at their record of tournaments. After that, we'll talk about the engraved legends, followed by the modern era and coach, and finally, we'll wrap up with their roving stadiums.
All right, Section 1, Identity and History, the blueprints of the machine.
You literally can't build a high-performing system without a rock-solid blueprint, right? Well, Germany's blueprint was drafted a very long time ago. The German Football Association was actually founded way back in 1900, so for well over a century, they have just been an absolute pillar of the global game. And you've definitely seen their iconic white and black colors out there. Those are directly inspired by the historic colors of the German flag. And anchoring the whole look is the German eagle. It's this powerful, historic crest that just projects profound national pride, strength, and authority right there on the pitch.
And that kind of strength ties perfectly into a concept that is deeply rooted in their history. I'm talking about their famous fighting mentality. If you follow football, you've heard of this. It's characterized by this relentless power, incredibly strict tactical discipline, and honestly just a categorical refusal to surrender. And listen, this isn't just some sports cliche, it's a documented historical trait. It's the exact mindset that has fueled their continuous, stable success across multiple generations. It's what allows them to just grind out victories even when their backs are completely against the wall.
Moving on to Section 2, Record of Tournaments, a Legacy of Hardware.
Because ultimately, a fighting mentality is really only as good as the actual trophies it produces, right? And wow, look at this legacy of pure hardware. We're talking 4 World Cups, 3 European Championships, and 1 Confederations Cup. That is a staggering haul of major international trophies. To put that into perspective, they were widely recognized as one of the teams with the highest number of major tournament final appearances in the entire history of the sport. They don't just show up to participate. They absolutely expect to be there on the final day, competing for the highest possible honors.
And what's really wild is that this dominance didn't just happen in one lucky era. Spanning exactly 60 years from their first World Cup victory in 1954 to their 4th in 2014, they've proven this totally unique ability to rebuild championship-winning machines as the sport drastically evolved around them. I mean, think about it. The tactics, the fitness levels, the global competition, all of it changed completely from 1954 to 2014. But Germany's position at the absolute pinnacle of the sport? Yeah, that didn't change one bit.
Which brings us to 2014, 1-7. If you watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The historic semifinal victory against the host nation, Brazil. It honestly remains one of the most stunning, jaw-dropping results in the history of international sports. This monumental victory perfectly paved the way for them to claim their 4th World Cup star. It was the ultimate, real-world manifestation of that relentless power and tactical discipline we talked about earlier. Just incredible.
That brings us to Section 3, Legends who engraved their names in gold.
So let's transition from the hardware to the human architects who actually executed these game plans. You are looking at a literal roll call of footballing royalty. Franz Beckenbauer, Miroslav Klose, Gerd Müller, Oliver Kahn, Philipp Lahm, Toni Kroos. Each of these distinct players, from totally impenetrable goalkeepers and genius defenders to record-breaking goal scorers and midfield maestros, they all helped fortify the team's worldwide reputation for excellence. These titans represent the very best of that German discipline and skill. They are the standard bearers for what it truly means to wear the eagle crest.
But you might be wondering, how do you guarantee you always have legends like that waiting in the wings? Well, this legacy of legends is sustained by one of the strongest youth talent development systems in the entire world. You don't become one of the most consistently successful national teams in history by accident, right? You do it by engineering a pipeline that constantly identifies, refines, and manufactures new stars to replace the outgoing ones. It is highly systemic, it is deeply structured, and clearly, it is incredibly effective.
Next up, Section 4, the current generation and coach.
Let's bring things into the present day and see the modern upgrades currently running the German machine. At the very top of the modern hierarchy sits the current manager, Julian Nagelsmann. Now, he's the tactical mind tasked with a massive responsibility, upholding the team's rigorous standards and their rich history. Leading this team means carrying the heavy weight of 4 World Cups and the expectations of a completely football-obsessed nation. Nagelsmann is the modern architect they've chosen to direct this next phase of their success.
And executing Nagelsmann's vision on the pitch today? It's this brilliant, dynamic mix of established veterans and explosive young talent. We're talking about guys like Jamal Musiala, Florian Wirtz, Antonio Rüdiger, Kai Havertz, Ilkay Gundogan, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, and Leroy Sané. This right here is the direct output of that structured youth pipeline we just talked about. These are the players currently carrying that heavy torch passed down by the historic legends, and they are tasked with writing the next victorious chapter.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the team's roving stadiums.
I want to shift to a really fascinating geographic quirk about this team that makes their home field advantage entirely unique. Unlike a lot of national teams that have a single, fixed national stadium, the German national team actually does not. Instead, they rotate. They rove across these massive domestic arenas from the Allianz Arena in Munich and Signal Iduna Park in Dortmund all the way to the Olympiastadion in Berlin and Deutsche Bank Park in Frankfurt. They literally bring the team directly to the fans in every major region. It's this deliberate, brilliant strategy that effectively turns the entire country into one unified, decentralized fortress.
So we've seen the historic origins dating back to 1900. We've talked about that terrifying fighting mentality, the absolute mountains of trophies, the legendary players, the elite youth systems, and a whole nation acting as their stadium. It leaves us with a pretty massive question to ponder. Is this relentless blend of historic discipline and modern development the ultimate blueprint for sporting immortality? Honestly, the German machine's century of dominance certainly makes a compelling case for it. It really is a masterclass in long-term organizational greatness. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.